Let's make some house Mimonix roti today. I have some atta. It is a finer whole wheat flour, very soft. And this is 2 cups, 2 standard US cups. I like to make a little well in the bottom just to help myself out. And what we'll do is we'll start with right around half a cup of water. So depending on how the wheat absorbs the water. You know, it's a slower process. If you make it too wet, it'll be too sticky to roll. So I'll be right back. I'll mix this up and we'll see what we're left with. This is a kind of a clumpy, looks like flakes almost. So it's wet, but it will need to absorb more water. I'm going to add another round 1/4 cup. So I'm going to add another 1/4 cup. And then you just kind of mix it in slow circular motions as you go around. It's very sticky where I just added the water. We'll just keep drawing in the atta so it firms up as we go. The reason it's a slower process is the atta tends to absorb water a little bit more slowly. Just kind of mash it as you go, and it'll start forming a stickier mixture. If it becomes too wet, it won't form the dough, but you'll see when you start balling it like this, it'll start forming. Just keep adding. And so we've had 2 cups so far of atta, and we've added 3/4 cup of room temperature water, and you'll see it's forming still nicely. It's actually a little wet, but as you roll it, it'll absorb. And then what I like to do to help out is you take it and you put it on a clean counter, clean surface. After you've mixed it, just kind of roll it like this. Just kind of fold it over a couple times. It's not a traditional kneading. Just kind of roll it so it forms a log. Smash it a few times as you roll. Unlike naan and things with yeast, like pizza dough that needs to rise, this you can ball up right away. So what I'll do, since it's this nice springy consistency, you can let it rest. You can cover it, let it rest for 15 minutes, but it's not necessary. What I like to do, since I tend to cook it pretty quickly, is I'll start breaking it apart into circles, into halves. So that's half of the ball. Again, this started with 2 cups of atta, and I'll just roll it like you would a meatball or any kind of other dough. Just roll it out, kind of form it so it's not overly wet, it's not overly dry, and just make some balls. So we're back, and we've made roughly 4 balls from the 2 cups. It is a little dry, so I won't need much flour, but we have our rolling pin. We have just regular white all-purpose flour just to add a little coating. You can use flour, you don't have to. When you roll it out, it'll start getting sticky. So what I'll do is just lightly flour my rolling pin. Have a little flour on the counter. We'll just smash the ball out a little bit, and we'll just roll it out. The Mimo in the Mimonix part is actually way better at rolling circles than I am. However, we'll just flip it a couple times and add some even pressure and start forming a nice tight circle. You want it to be thin, not super thick, because once you touch it to the griddle or the pan, it will need to add the heat evenly. So you want it to be an even circle. Looks more like a continent than a circle, but that's okay. Mimonix always does it a little jugado anyway. So you roll it out so it's an even consistency. Well, this one turned out a little better than expected. I guess practice does make perfect after all. So you'll see it's not super thick. It's about 1/8 of an inch. But it's stretchy, but it's not going to tear. Too thin, it'll tear. You can brush a little oil on top of it just so it doesn't stick. Just a tiny amount. It doesn't need much. I like to go around the edges first and then just lightly brush it. And we'll be right back, and I'll show you what happens when you put it on the tava or griddle. You can also use a flat skillet or griddle if you'd like. I prefer the crepe maker because it's round and it does it so evenly. So let's pause and we'll go throw it on the griddle. Here we are, we've added it to the tava, oiled side down, and before it goes too far, I'll brush a little oil on top. And what'll happen as it starts to heat up, it'll begin to form small bubbles. And you just repeat this process. So again, just a small amount of oil. You can use ghee, you can use cooking spray. You actually don't need too much oil at all. Just enough, and you'll see the bubbles start to form. And we'll be right back when there's enough bubbles, and I'll show you what happens when you flip it over. It's been roughly 90 seconds, 2 minutes, and you'll see there's bubbles throughout as it is heated up. And you'll notice the underneath side of it has some dark coloration on those spots. That means it's time to flip, so that side's cooked. We'll just flip it over. We'll wait about the same amount of time, and then I'll show you the finished product. So it's been about another 2 minutes. We're just gonna lightly check this side. You'll see it's got some darker spots. So we'll flip it over. I like to fold mine in quarters because we usually do, for a family of 4, we usually do about 6 to 8 roti. And then I just transfer this to an area with a container with a lid so that it stays warm like a tortilla holder. And then we start the process all over again. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Kitchen Mimonix and how to make house Mimonix roti.